Hey, what's up, guys? So I'm going to be talking about Swamp Thing, the 2019 series. It is a reboot of Swamp Thing. They did have a TV series of Swamp Thing in the 90s that lasted for 3 seasons, but this is a whole new Swamp Thing, series that was on the DC Universe Network, and it only lasted for 10 episodes. When they premiered the first episode on their network, it got canceled right after that because the higher-ups at DC were not confident in the show. So the 10th episode that they were filming, after they finished filming that, it was shut down, canceled by them. So, and it was originally supposed to be 13 episodes altogether for their first season, but those episodes 11, 12, and 13 did not get filmed. And it'd been nice if they at least allowed them to, have closure. Because, episode 10 was okay. The last episode they filmed was okay, but it left it open-ended. So it kind of made you want more. They could at least did a movie or something just to wrap things up. This show had potential. It really did. And I don't understand why they would just cancel it after the first episode. I don't know, it's because of, not enough people watching it on its first episode premiere, but it is what it is. I was upset when I heard about them canceling the show because I was really excited about, them bringing Swamp Thing back, I've always talked about they need to make a new Swamp Thing film, remake or something. And then they started talking about a new TV series or, this that was on the DC Universe Network. And I'm like, alright, cool. It is what it is, but this show had so much potential, but it also had problems. I could probably see why they would cancel it based on the first episode and some of the episodes that followed, because there wasn't a whole lot of focus on Swamp Thing. It felt kind of like a soap opera. It was mostly focused on the town of the people that lived there. There's not enough character development with Swamp Thing. There's only character development with everyone that's in the town. Even their, character arc isn't really that fleshed out. And your main character is Abby Arcane, daughter of Dr. Arcane, which he is not even in this show at all. That is Swamp Thing's, main nemesis is Dr. Arcane, because he essentially creates Swamp Thing and every other mutated creature that's went after Swamp Thing to destroy him. You saw Dr. Arcane in the movies and TV show in the 90s, but he's absent in this series. So the focus is Abby Arcane. And I like the actress that's playing Abby, Christopher Reed. I liked her in Teen Wolf. She was on there for a few seasons, and it was really cool to see her again. And she's the main character. And she's great. I don't mind her as the main character. But my issue is, the people that surround her that are not Swamp Thing. It's the other people in her life. Like the Virginia Madsen character, Maria, and the Will Patton character, Avery, which is the villain in this series. And I like both actors, but there's too much focus on them, especially Avery. And he's just a rich guy that pretty much controls the town. And he basically, he wants to kill Swamp Thing, basically. Wants to study him, and he's got this guy named Jason, who is a biogenesis. He wants to study him, and he's so fixated on him that, he wants to cure his wife with, samples of stuff that he got from Swamp Thing, But the problem is, that guy, Jason, he eats, part of what he got from Swamp Thing, a liver or whatever. He starts eating it because he thinks, it can give him, I don't know, powers, I guess. I don't really know why he's doing it to himself. He's supposed to be giving it to his wife, but it transforms him, and that's what happens in the last episode. It transforms him into this monster from the swamp. That's the problem with the swamp. It has all this history behind it. There's a darkness. And I like that supernatural element to the show. I do like that they try to go into different territory. I believe it's more based on the comic books. And I do like some things they offered to the show, like, the Abby character. She feels regret. She feels guilty because she feels like she killed, Maria and Avery's daughter when she was a kid. She feels responsible, and at least Maria hates her. She hates Abby, and she blames her for her daughter's death. And Maria sees her daughter as a ghost, entity. And at one point, her dead daughter possesses another girl that she's adopted. So I like that supernatural kind of element that they bring to the show. And I do like, it does have scary moments in it. So there's good things about it, but there's a lot of downtime and a lot of unnecessary things. Like the Blue Devil thing with the guy from 90210. His character was just completely pointless. It's just so, I don't know, it's just out in left field somewhere. It just felt like his character wasn't really well fleshed out, not developed very well. I can say that Abby Arcane, her character, was developed well enough, but it's just so much focus on these characters and barely anything with Swamp Thing. Like the first 5 episodes, it's mostly focused on this town. Swamp Thing is out in the shadows somewhere, hiding in the swamp. You got people trying to go after him, kill him. He kills a couple of things that happen that go bump in the night. There's people that once died that he sees as ghosts, and they're trying to guide him through, this life, this whole new life that he has now that he doesn't know how to deal with. He wants to be a man again. And Abby's trying to find a cure so he can be, Alec again. A human again. At one point, she sees hallucinations of him as, you know, Alec once again for an entire episode, because, you know, he did something to get her to like hallucinate and see him once again as Alec. And it's kind of a sweet love story mixed in there too, but I mean, it's just one of those shows. It has nice moments and it has potential, but there's a lot of downtime, a lot of things that are unnecessary. It would have been nice if they had more, you know, monster of the week type of stuff that we're used to, more Swamp Thing, more focus. But there's just so much focus on these other characters. And Swamp Thing's kind of like a supporting character in his own show. The show is called Swamp Thing. So, I think that's why they didn't feel confident with the show. But it started getting better. It really did. It started getting better about the, I want to say the 7th episode. I want to say that's the one where it showed where, you know, she was hallucinating Alec. And from there, they were starting to focus a little bit more on Swamp Thing. And, you know, I thought the show was starting to get better. It really could have become something much better. Even the last episode, it's just like, really? You end it here? So yeah, it's just one of those shows. It's disappointing. It's disappointing that they didn't give the show a chance. And it at times feels kind of CW-ish at times. It's obviously not CW because there's a lot of cussing and there's blood and there's violence, and this is definitely, you know, the Swamp Thing of like the first movie. Okay, this is the way Swamp Thing is supposed to be, like and it's supposed to be like the comics. So it's supposed to have that, you know, those scary kind of horror elements to it, and I like that. I appreciate that. So yeah, it's just one of those shows that I think it's worth checking out if you haven't seen it and you've seen Swamp Thing, you know, the first 2 films and the TV series in the 90s. I would recommend this show, but also I can see why the show struggled, because they had problems with their production. You know, I heard it was expensive to make, which I don't know why, because it didn't look that expensive to make. I mean, Swamp Thing is practical effects, and there's hardly any CGI, so I don't know why it was so expensive to make this show. It didn't look that expensive. But I like all the actors in it. It's just if they should have focused more on Swamp Thing. They really should have. And it's just a damn shame that this show got canceled and didn't get a chance, because they should have just brought it over to another network and continued. I don't know where they could have brought it to. I mean, CW would have toned it down considerably, but they could have made it season 2 somewhere else in a different network. But it is what it is, and it's still an enjoyable show for its moments of great potential to be, you know, a better show. And it's a shame that it ended the way it did. But I still recommend the show to check it out. Anyways, I'll talk to you guys later. Take it easy.